Episode 35, Altered States of Consciousness. Whether trance, meditation, these altered states of consciousness are a tool for various religious purposes, or if they're the end, the goal that you're trying to reach.
Whether you're standing in circle with your sisters, practicing as a solitary practitioner at a dance club, or floating by yourself in a float tank.
Altered states of consciousness are these really powerful ways of being present, being in another place, being in your body, and we hope that you're able to understand how we view these and how we experience these.
Thank you for being here with us today as we journey through altered states of consciousness.
Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
races,
and backgrounds.
With a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true, our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Episode 35.
Altered States of Consciousness.
We didn't plan that, but it worked out nicely.
Our consciousness is
aligned
and altered.
And altered. Exactly. So, before we get started, before we get started, we'll take a moment and check in, and then we'll hit our main topic about altered states of consciousness, and then close with a poem. But before all that, yes. So, it's the second week of February, and school just started for us last Monday, a week ago. So 8 days ago. So we had 3 days of classes, and then we had a snow day. Actually, we had 2 snow days. And so my semester is totally screwed. It's just totally screwed. I just look at it and I think, okay, whatever, just whatevs. But the beauty of it is I have been slamming back TV like you would not believe over the past week. It's just amazing. I've been watching The Crown, and I'll come back to that. I've been watching just rerun after rerun after rerun of NCIS, just because, like, why not? Mm-hmm. And what else? There's a couple of other shows as well, but I have just been watching so much television, and I hold my laptop on my lap while I watch it, so theoretically I'm also getting some work done. But I'm not getting a whole lot of work done, and so if my bosses or anything are listening, sorry, but I'm on all these boards and I owe minutes for different things, and they'll get done. They just didn't get done last week, and I started, because I'm a procrastinator, and so I started to feel bad, but I decided to put that off a little bit, and I'm just owning that I just watched a whole bunch. I just slammed back hours upon hours of TV.
I love it.
Thank you. It was fun. I'm not there's a little bit of shame and guilt there, but I'm stepping over that. I'm trying to crash it with my heel, and just own the fact that I had a great time last week.
I love that.
Thank you
for modeling that.
My pleasure. Definitely my pleasure.
Definitely your pleasure.
It was definitely my pleasure. So that's how I spent. I was without power for about 3 or 4 hours. Mm-hmm. That's when you realize all of the things, as I'm sure you'll be able to concur, all of the things that you plan to do are really electricity dependent. And I even said, well, okay, I couldn't make tea, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. I said, oh, well, I can go to Starbucks and get some, get a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. Well, to get a cup of coffee, to get in my car and drive somewhere, that meant I had to get outside my garage, which means I had to take the track off the thing. So you know what I did? I took a nap. So I took a nap, and then by the time I got up, I had electricity, and I started slamming back the TV.
There you go.
It was a beautiful, beautiful couple of days.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you. What about with you? What was your
non-witchy circle life like?
I wanted to check in about cleaning.
Okay.
Because what I'm realizing, so I've always been particular in general, but it was not uncommon for me to have a messy house, and things would kind of ebb and flow. Like I would, like my house tended, after I started with my authenticity sobriety, see episode 1 if you're wondering what that is. I would go through ebbs and flows where my house, but the constant was my house was a place where I slept and put things. You know, it was like it's somewhat similar to like a gas station. The way you treat it, like the way I would treat a gas station.
Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
So, but then during COVID, I really got into cleaning, and it was wonderful, and I've really enjoyed it, and it's been really great, like cleaning and organizing, you know, and like using organizers for like my drawers, and cleaning my fridge, and I repainted my entire house. You know, I've done a lot of things like that, and it's really good. And I think this past week I was just really considering how out of control I feel in life, and how so much of the world seems to have gone back to somewhat normal, like normal-ish. You know, like people are going out, people are traveling, people are doing things. And unless you have a plug into the chaos still, like being a teacher or being like a medical professional, or you have someone that's has like a health condition, like it could be somewhat easy to go about life almost as normal. And it made me consider how out of control I feel, and how hard this past month has been as a teacher, and how much of that I am using cleaning as a coping tool. So like how I can't control, up to a reasonable extent, I can't control the way that my school district chooses to handle vaccine and mask regulations, or the state, you know, but I can control the tiny space between my floorboards.
Yes, you can.
And I was like down on my hands and knees.
Oh my gosh.
Scrubbing it.
Yeah.
You know, like I can control that.
Yeah.
So, and then it also, this kind of ties a little bit into our conversation today about, you know, using things as a tool, and then just being aware of that tool and the impact of that tool. And so, you know, I could be doing a lot of other things that are either fine or not, the healthy or not healthy, as viewed by society. But it's just interesting for me to like really consider like how much I am using that as a way of as a way of self-care, also as a way of coping.
I find that really fascinating, because I'm wondering if there's that you say it's a coping mechanism, and it's an element of control, and I think we have a control issue episode coming
right up. Maybe it's why I was considering it. Doing some homework.
Yes, exactly. You know, starting to become more self-aware. And I'm wondering if there's also an element of nesting. You know, so you mentioned self-care, but self-soothing. Mm-hmm. So there's the actual activity, which might be the coping mechanism, but then the activity has a result, right? Mm-hmm. And that's your nest becomes maybe more welcoming, or at least cleaner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's wow. It's interesting to hear your awareness around this. And so, are you actually aware of this as you're cleaning the little?
Yeah, I was on my hands and knees with like a brush, scrubbing this. I don't know, maybe like 2 millimeter wide gap on the floor. Between my board, like where my boards have like a divot, you know, where they connect, they popped and snap together, and I was like scrubbing it, and then I thought, like, is this a tool, or am I a tool? Like, which one is it?
Or it's kind of like the wheel. Sometimes sometimes you're the cog, and sometimes you're the other thing, the spoke or whatever, that you know what I mean. Yeah. So well, I'm happy to hear that you've been thoughtful about it, and
thanks.
And it sounds like it can be soothing.
Yeah. Tune in another week or so for our episode on control, which we really are in all seriousness.
Oh yeah, control issues.
Doing.
Yes. So episode 35, Altered States of Consciousness. Whoa. And it's a really packed idea. And we'll see how much of it we actually get to. But
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
I just to maybe put the cart before the horse a little bit. I have had a change of heart with how I feel about altered states of consciousness. So it's something that I really love, and it's a big part of my spiritual practice. So I'm coming to this conversation like really excited to talk about it, and also about my journey with it.
Well, actually, I don't mind starting there if you don't. You want to, what did you start with, and what did you change to, if you care to? Yeah.
So originally, my master's degree is in spiritual psychology, or transpersonal psychology, meaning psychospiritual psychology. So I spent a good amount of time during my master's degree studying other spiritual cultures and spiritual practices and their use of altered states of consciousness. And this was a while ago, and I was pretty clear back then that altering your state of consciousness, I thought, was cheating.
Oh, cheating.
Yeah. Cheating in a spiritual practice. Like, particularly if you use anything external. So any legal or illegal. I thought if you use something external, that's cheating. That's a weakness, and you should be using something
like a crutch.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you are going to alter your state of consciousness, it should be something internal that you do, which we'll talk about some methods later. But that if you use anything external, legal or illegal, it's cheating. Well, similar to the way that Leilani thinks she knows things and then later on figures out.
We grow and we learn.
Yes.
We? Yes.
Yeah. That. So I actually disagree with what I used to think, and now I have a lot more room in my own personal practice, but also in my willingness to accept and hear and learn from others. Even if it's not what I will do, I can see its value.
So as we talk about, we'll talk about the various states of altered states of consciousness. But my journey is, I think, I'm not sure how it would compare to yours, but I grew up in an ecstatic Black Baptist church, missionary Baptist church, which had very much, the idea of getting happy. So everyone always uses the Blues Brothers as their example. No one's cartwheeling down the aisles, but people they call it getting happy. And it's actually kind of based on, for me, I can trace it back to African circles. And so the idea of being ridden by the Orisha. And so, but I was very suspicious of that. It scared me as a kid. And I didn't want to go there, and I felt I felt that the people who were experiencing these states, there'd be a very active part of it where they're dancing down the aisle, but then sometimes they would just sit there and just kind of freeze up or whatever, and it scared me, and I didn't know what they were no one knows what they're going through. Someone else is going through, but I didn't think that was a part of the religious experience that I wanted to have. It just really frightened me, and I felt that the lack of control, and I felt as if it could be the Holy Spirit or an Orisha or something like that taking you over, but I wasn't having any of that. I didn't want any. I wanted to be, my religious experience is me and God or whatever, and I wanted to have a great deal of control over that. And so I think that scared me for many years until I started really doing meditation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, and that's when I really began to appreciate it.
That's so interesting. I love that we actually haven't talked about any of this before the episode. So I'm it's really interesting to me that we both kind of had similar, like, no's, and then, like, actually,
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So So do you know why you changed your mind?
Yes, I do, because I changed my mind because I began to see altered states of consciousness as a tool, just like any other piece of ritual technology. it was a tool to help me achieve something, to reach something, to do something. So when I started looking at it as from that perspective, and I have to say, like, it's unfortunate, but a lot of my perspective was, like cliche dare culture.
Oh,
Dare culture maybe partnered with a very, I don't know, bland Christian upbringing, where you, like, I sat in church and I was quiet, and then you stood and you sang and you sat down, you were quiet. So like no ecstasy, no ecstatic practice at all. So coming from that, I think I really had to unlearn all of that and then see how it was a tool. And also the other thing I want to add in is that I really feel like me being, as I call myself, an energy witch, altered states of consciousness are achieved through my energy.
Oh, right.
So like dancing, and we'll talk in a little bit about some types of ways to alter state of consciousness, but like I alter my state of consciousness through my body, a lot of times in ritual and in other places. So now that I know that, I can see I was actually altering my state of consciousness without knowing what I was doing, because it was something that was in me, and I knew that it was getting me something that I wanted, but I didn't know what I was doing. Oftentimes I didn't even know I was doing it, or like the sacred was doing it with me.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of was doing it before I knew it, and then stumbled into it, and then began being educated and figured out why that I was doing it, and then from there I figured out why I was doing it. So like, not a straight line journey.
Yeah. No, but I mean, in very few times are they really a straight line.
Right.
But we like to think that they're very linear. So for me, I think my breakthrough or my change of heart came about when I realized it's not either or. It's not you're screaming, making a spectacle of that, which is what I thought. You're making a spectacle of yourself in front of people, or you're just not having a religious experience at all. When I began to realize that, there's different approaches and different ways, and one way works for one person, and another works for another, and one way might work for me on one day, and a different I might find something else that's very helpful, useful, and we'll talk about this as we talk about the various kind of techniques, and as I began to realize that there's these different approaches, one of the things, and this might be like a slightly different perspective, because we have two different perspectives, is that I began to think of it less as a way of getting somewhere, and then thinking about what happens if I just focus on being where I am as I'm doing that. And so it became kind of a means to something else, but also an end in itself. And when I began to appreciate those little kind of oubliettes, these little pockets of trance or meditation or stillness or whatever, that opened me up, I think, to recognizing that I still don't have any control over it, but I do have control over how I get into it. And I can choose. Okay, how about this? I can choose what way I'm going to maybe sit with the divine, and that's how I think about it. And that really released a lot of, I don't know, trauma or expectation of trauma or something like that.
I think that you bring up a really great point, that for me, altering a state of consciousness is a surrendering, but it is a surrendering that I choose to do. It's not like I don't get taken hostage, and I'm not forced. But so even though I do surrender, and to some to different levels depending on the type of altered state of consciousness, I may or may not have, I may negotiate the amount of control I have in that moment, or presence that I, Leilani, have in that moment. But I do choose to do the surrendering.
I love the word that you use, presence, because to me that's a lot of it. It's where I choose to sit, where I choose to be, and again, it's a choice. And the choice, sometimes I may not get there. I mean, there's still a lot of things that go into it, but that idea of being present is one. Once I can embrace that, then I can make various other choices in terms of what techniques I'm going to use or whatever. But that idea of being present in the experience is the part, even though it sounds like altered states of consciousness, we're not really there, but you are, right? There's an element, but where you are is the different thing. It's not, you're not necessarily sitting in your body in my craft room in front of the microphone.
100%.
So we might be in the ether somewhere, but truly present in that.
I love the way you said that. Just for the sake of our discussion, I'd like to just point out to the people listening that for most of the time we're going to talk about ritual technology and ways of altering states of consciousness. There are lots of other ways to alter states of consciousness, some with drugs or substances, and I personally think that those have a lot of cultural significance and value, but just because that's not where our conversation is focusing isn't some sort of judgment on that.
Right.
It's just,
totally.
It's just coming from my own personal practice.
Yeah, and my experience. So and we'd love, if people would love to share with us, you can find us on social media, and we'd love to keep this conversation going and hear about other people, how other people experience these things or search for these types of states. It would be lovely to hear other experiences.
And I think a lot of that for me is that a lot of my spiritual experiences come from our circle, and our circle has an agreement to not use substances while we're doing ritual. So, and not in a judgmental way, but just in a way of like, that's the agreement that we have.
Right. Yeah, could we talk about that a little bit more? So one of the reasons that we started creating that we actually added that agreement into our original set was the potential to use these substances to numb out, so that it keeps you from having to experience the ritual and all of the things that it may bring up. And so to allow ourselves to be fully present, we chose not to allow those, so that's one choice that people don't have to make, if that makes any sense. So, but one of the things that I have learned in my explorations over the past few years is how much people use different types of substances, plant medicine, et cetera, to be a part of their spiritual practice. And that's another discussion for another day.
For sure. And I also think in my life, just in my personal circle of people, the things that I see people using to numb out are oftentimes not the substances or drugs, but
M&Ms.
I was thinking like social media.
Okay. Yeah, we all have our choices.
Right, exactly.
of ways to not really be in the moment. Yeah. So you mentioned the idea of it being a tool. Shall we just talk about some of the ways in which, Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So reasons why I like altering my state of consciousness. The biggest one, I think, is communal with the sacred. I feel like I am able to, the metaphor I use is like a electrical plug. I'm able to like plug myself directly in.
Yeah. And yes. And it's so amazing. We have in our circle, we have done so much work around this, particularly in the use of trance. We utilize trance as one of our ritual components so often that we have kind of streamlined the process. And in many cases, we can just start talking about the idea of going into trance, and everyone starts drumming. It's like, wait. We want to go over some instructions first. And everyone's like, no, we're gone.
I'm already gone. Yeah, for sure. And I know like we have certain drumming patterns, and also I've tranced enough with certain facilitators, priestessing in our circle, including you, that if I hear their voices in a trance way, I will start to trance. And it's the same with you. Like we can have a conversation and that's fine. But if you shift your voice into your trance voice, I'm like, whoa.
So
stop! Don't do it.
Yeah, no, but it's kind of fun. It's, I mean, not sending people off, but yeah, just the fact that we've kind of honed that technique, and so it's so useful for me to be able to just sit there and just go, bam, I'm connected.
For
you
sure.
know? And
for sure.
There's a I can't remember, you know, a new age speaker out there, and her thing is ABC, always be connected.
Oh.
And I'm not always connected, but I can get there real fast. It's like, dang, all right, there we go. All the chakras are like, you know, zooming, and the kundalini is rising, and you know, the solar flares are attaching to my crown chakra, and it's amazing.
Drumming too is another way that our circle uses, and that I find is really effective for me. There are certain types of drums and certain drumming patterns that really help for me.
Yeah, I think so. There's a certain patterns that we use specifically for trance, and again, it's kind of like the same thing with the voice, where the minute you start hearing that, it's like yeah. But then also just drumming in general. I think, you know, that rhythm, and we talked about this maybe with the body. You know, the rhythm just kind of resonating, and your body gets caught up in there, and if you allow yourself, your mind can follow it.
Yeah, trance drumming, and I don't know what type of drumming to call the other thing, but like drumming to sing or dance are different for me, but they both can alter my state of consciousness
in different ways, right?
In different ways for me.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the different ways. So, you know, we mentioned trance, and I think in a lot of these altered states of consciousness, trance might figure for me, but there are different types of trance. There's kind of more of the meditative, where I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but it for me, that type of trance kind of reminds me of zazen. You know, it's like
I'm giving a look. I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
Is that a person? Is that a thing?
No. Okay. It's just a type of sitting. It's like Zen, like Buddhist sitting technique, where you're literally sitting, and you're you know, your eyes are half closed, so because if you close them, you might just go off, and so it's really a means of being totally present. And if you're going to focus on something, you might focus on your breath, or you might focus on your heart, you know, the sensation of your heart beating. But the idea is to really still, and I don't want to use my trance voice.
Yeah, be careful.
But you really want to just get super, super still and drop everything away, so you can be present, totally present, sitting. There's, you know, they have instructions, like pages upon pages of instructions on how you can sit and how you hold your hands and all that kind of stuff. But the fundamental element of it is that stillness, in which you're totally focused on being where you are in that moment, and for many moments, you know, you can. I'm actually reintegrating that into my practice.
Wow.
So I'm so glad we had this episode, because it allows me to kind of focus and center. So really centered. I get very, very centered, and then that it's less about maybe connecting with the divine as a spirit, and more maybe just connecting with myself and maybe the divinity within myself, and doing all that sort of stuff. But it's really just kind of cutting away all of the extra stuff, and just really just being Kimberlyn, the essential Kimberlyn, for however long I can do that.
Wow.
It's amazing. And as I say, I'm getting back to it. But right now I'm just, okay, breathing in, breathing. Oh shoot, the heat came on. Okay, breathing in, oh snow. I need to let the dog. You know, so right now I think I can average about, like, I don't know, 22 seconds. But the idea is that you get better and better as we know. And ideally, I would love to be able to do a half hour. It'll take a while to get there. You know that, but I know that there's going to be this moment of critical mass where I just go from, you know, my 52 seconds to bam, okay, I'm doing, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And after that, it becomes kind of exponential, but you kind of have to get to that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. The best trance for me, I access trance through my body. So repetitive motion in trance is really helpful for me. Like one time I did, like we were singing and doing a bowing motion repetitively. And that was great. That was so good. That was unlike anything I'd ever done. Or trancing while we, and I think I said this on another episode, sing, drum, and dance. I can do 2 out of the 3 and stay linear. But the moment I add that third one in, pshoo,
she's gone.
Yeah. So I have to be, so it's a tool, right? Alternative consciousness is a tool. So I know that if I am not wanting to trance, I will not use that tool, and I will do 2 of the 3 and be quite linear. But if I want to use the tool and I add that third one in, bye-bye.
We're scraping her off the ceiling, or we're leaving her.
The floor.
Yeah, we're just leaving her there because she wants to be there. Yeah, no. Well, it's funny that you said the repetitive motion, because I think that's one of the powerful parts of Dances of Universal Peace, and which is it's a wonderful group of people. I mean, it's worldwide, and they draw in music from various traditions, and they have circles, and they dance to it, and you do it for a length of time, so it becomes very meditative or trance-inducing, and so we have done some of those dances in our circle, and I find they're simple motions, but well, actually, that's a good thing, because that helps us. That really helps you to kind of release, but that repetitive aspect of it. Particularly if there's some sort of, like with bowing, there's like respect or acknowledging the divine, some sort of meaning, a specific meaning to each motion. I find that just so, first of all, it's beautiful. And then I find that I can really allow it to help me to get into a certain type of headspace, into a certain state of consciousness.
For sure. For sure. Your drumming also is a really effective altering
Thank you.
experience for me.
Well, it can be for me too. I have to be careful.
I know, and that's one of my favorite things. I love watching you, and I'll like look over, especially if I am drumming with you. I'll be watching you for cues, and then sometimes I'll look over and I'll see you jamming out, and then other times I'll look over and I'll be like, she ain't there, but she's still drumming. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that's it. It's I love that. I love that. I can send myself off that way. And I can go off and I'm told that I'm still drumming. So
my experience is you still are.
Oh, excellent. Well, I think that a part of that for me is, again, it's a repetitive motion, or kind of repetitive motion, right?
I think so.
And so I have the sound, I have the tact, I have the actual physical movement of my body, and then I have the tactile element of just my hand contacting the drum. I that can really let me go. That can, and don't let there be a fire too. It's all over then. But yeah, thank you. Drumming can be a really important part for a lot of people. And singing and the combinations.
Yeah, I feel it's like a dual voice trance. You know how, like, the concept of, for people listening, the concept of dual voice trance is that our consciousness can only follow one of the voices. So if we have multiple people speaking at the same time, and then you can even add an instrument in there too, just to really muddy the waters, that our consciousness only can follow one, so then the other ones slip in. So like we use that for dual voice trance, but I also find that that's true with like when we are singing and drumming, like my mind, I feel it, like my mind is trying desperately to be linear, like story of my life, like desperately clinging to something to be linear. Yeah. Also see my check-in about cleaning.
Yes.
They scrub that line on my floor.
That's right. You're trying to control it. To control it.
My mind is like trying, and I can feel it. I can feel it in my body, and then if there's just too much, like if it's too much, and I go over that edge with singing a chant that I don't know as well, will do that, or adding a drum, or adding me drumming, or me starting to move my body, and then it's game on. Oh my gosh,
game on. Well, you know what I'm picturing? I don't know. Did you ever see the finale of the Harry Potter things where it's him and Voldemort, and he grabs Voldemort? Did you ever see that?
Are you talking about like the last book?
The last movie. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So there, he basically, and this is what I'm picturing, is like you and your ego, and you like grab your ego and you look into your ego's eyes, and it's like, and then you just jump off the cliff with your ego going, no! That's what I'm picturing. It's just like this great image.
Yes. Very, very much so. And it's a very body thing for me. Like I can feel it in my body. I can feel the ecstasy or the energy coming in through me, and that can sometimes knock me out of it. I'm like, oh, here it comes, which can like, totally take me out of the moment. Then I'm like, well, jeez.
I was gonna say there's a sexual analogy there.
100%. As an energy witch, as a body witch, that type of energy is
it's like
similar Z's, same Z's, but I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel my consciousness shifting in that energy,
mm-hmm.
and I love it. I love getting to dance and move my body, and it helps being with other women or witches that are also doing similar things, because then I can see and connect with them. It also gives me a sense of permission to just to go to.
One of the things that I love when we'll do a meditation or a trance and everyone lays down in the place that there's like pews or on the floor or whatever, and we all start breathing in like we become very our breathing becomes aligned. I can't. There's a word
synchronized.
For it. Synchronized. Yes. Our breathing becomes really, really super synchronized. And I remember we were doing something. This was years ago, like maybe almost 10 years ago. And I was talking, and everyone else was laying there, and I was watching, and you could see like the chests going up and down.
Yeah.
And it was just so amazing to see. And I'm sure everyone was having their own individual experiences, but it was just. But it was just really wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And one of the things I don't know if we should mention this or not, is, when we talk about trance, I want to make sure that people are clear that we're talking, when we're saying trance, we're talking about ways in which each individual person can have their experience, as opposed to a guided meditation where you're kind of talking the group through the same type of scenario. So when we do trance, we tend to use very open, invitatory language that allows women to make choices as they're going through this experience, so that we're sharing the time, and we're sharing the words that we hear coming in our ears, but we're actually each individually creating our own experience. I think that's important to note.
I think you're right. And I also think that even though we're all having these different experiences, there is something for me that intensifies my experience when I am doing it with others.
Totally.
So like you said, like the breathing together, I find that we are, even though we're individual, we're in sync. And that synchronization takes me even deeper. And if that synchronization is something physicalized, again, because I am a body, I feel like there should be like a bingo card or something. Like someone is like keeping a tally every time Leilani mentions her body.
No, we should take a shot.
Right. All that will alter our state of consciousness. When it's physicalized, like a dance that we're doing, like you mentioned, we do those really simple dances, or a motion, or I find myself, I make sure that I'm across from another, what I would consider body energy witch type person, and like maybe they're on their knees pounding the floor, I'm on my knees pounding the floor, or we're both swaying back and forth similarly. Like if I'm okay, hold on. There's a magazine on the back of my toilet.
Okay.
I'm coming here now.
Wait. Okay.
I'm checking in about reality. I'm not.
Okay.
I can feel. Yeah. It's a handstand magazine, actually.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. So if I'm moving my body in those ways that are mirrored by or connected to, it will take me into a deeper state. One time, I did it on accident. I was in a musical. This was like 10 years ago when I was trying to figure out who I was. And I was in this musical, and at one point in time we're singing, it's Little Shop of Horrors. I'm singing, we're on stage, and we have a cue to kind of like all start to kneel during a song. And I started to kneel, and I like felt it happen, because there's a feeling in my body when it happens, and I felt it happen. I was like, whoa, no. Not now. But that was a part of whenever I was figuring out why was I doing the things that I was doing, And, there are much more efficient ways for me to be an ecstatic witch than to do musical theater. It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But you did experience it there, though.
I did, and there are reasons why I was drawn to these things, like groups of people singing and dancing, plus the energy of the audience. Like, there's a lot of ecstasy in that. There's a lot. For me, and I realized that was one of the big reasons why I was doing it.
And now that you figured out, okay, I can do this by doing something else.
I can do it more efficiently.
Okay.
This is the Enneagram.
So we'll never see you on the stage again.
This is my 3-wing. My Enneagram 3-wing. I can be more efficient.
Okay.
And I can get more of it.
Yeah. Yes.
And I can be more skillful with it by accessing it in different ways. Also, I can do my competitive dance, which is like way awesome.
But because you can fit that in your schedule a little bit more.
So I kind of described what it was like for me whenever I feel it in my body, planned or not planned, whenever I start to slip into that state. What is your experience like?
So I have a couple of different ways, but the way I know I'm there, it's hard to, let me see if I can find verbiage for it. But there's kind of this brightness in my head. It's like I see. When my eyes are closed, I don't see dark. I see light, and my actual head and shoulders and torso becomes lighter. I feel like I'm floating, and I can do that. I can do that. It can come from the stillness, the zazen. It can come from dancing. But it's this moment where I'm hyper aware, I think, or at least I'm hyper aware of where I am, of that presence, of being present. And so I might not be really clear about like where I am in our song or anything like that, but I'm hyper aware of that. And it's like super alpha brainwaves. And when I feel it, it's kind of like you're standing on the top of the building and you're looking around and saying, "Oh, I'm trance," or I'm in an altered state of consciousness, or I think of it as being in a different dimension or in a different plane, and so there's this element of thought about it, like, oh, that I'm there, and then the rest of it is just that kind of ethereal feeling of just being so totally aligned with the one, with the universe, with the all, and it is I'm jealous of myself when I have those periods when I'm not, because I want it more often. I can't, because I'll never get my grading done, right?
Right.
But
preach.
But it's this feeling where it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be, and so I've got to figure out how I can get my life to the point where I can do that a whole lot of time and still like pay my bills and all that kind of stuff. But does that make any sort of sense to you?
It makes total sense.
Okay.
So it makes sense that that's your experience. I don't experience that way, but I can see it. It makes sense to me that that's how you experience it.
Yeah.
Also, what a great Witchy Wit episode if we were to talk about negotiating sacred and mundane life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because I do feel like that is a constant. This is not on our topic, but I do feel like this is like it's like a constant thing where it's like, I want to run away and live with our circle in the woods all the time.
Yes. Well, because that is a different state of consciousness, right? I mean, like we've just said, that when we're in a community with our sisters, we breathe the same air, the air that's coming out of your mouth, your lungs, I'm breathing in a little bit, and
in COVID times, saying that.
I know. So we're creating kind of this it's not a miasma, because that sounds disgusting, but we're creating this kind of bubble around ourselves when we're all trancing at the same time, and our breathing is synchronized, and we're all in the same we're all in our headspace, whatever that might look like. And so there's an energy that's there, that is a state of consciousness that we could only create with those people who are there in that moment. That it would be totally different even if one person was not there, or a different person was there. So I get that. I get that, and that's part of what we're talking about today. Is that
good? I'm still on topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, like you said, maybe we need another episode to just talk about how we can do all of the things that we're on this plane to do, and really experience. Because I feel as if when I'm grading, when I'm doing, I some people are better than me probably at seeing the divine, as they're saying. Support your comments with by citing your source, right? But I can't.
Holy sacred citation.
Exactly.
MLA or APA format.
So true. But I'm not there yet. So, that idea of, if that's the state of my highest being, shouldn't I be in it more often?
Right?
So
yes.
How can I make the world understand that?
Right?
I could tell my school, really, I should give no exams so that I can spend more time in this.
I know. I'm supposed to be here at 8 a.m. to report for work, but I'm really being in my altered state of consciousness, which actually is where I'm really more supposed to be.
Yes.
So, is disciplinary action really needed? No.
Yeah, that's another discussion. We'll have to get some lawyers who are well versed in altered states of consciousness,
right,
who can help us argue that with our places of business. But yeah, so that's a question, right? The question that I think will probably keep coming up for me, because the better I get at it, the more I want to be there. And that's probably where I'm doing a great deal of spiritual work in raising the consciousness of the planet around me, which I feel is my mission. And so, yeah.
We keep talking about different ways to alter our state of consciousness. And I thought it was really cool. One thing I thought was really cool was we do a lot of drumming, singing, dancing, or movement. And then trance, those tend to be sometimes walking trances, sometimes laying down. Those tend to be like our go-tos. And I always am pleasantly surprised when someone brings a new tool to us. One year, this was a long time ago, one of our sisters brought seething to us. And I've only ever done it that one time when she led it, and hot damn, it involved, like, my memory of it is it involved us like shaking. I was standing up and we were shaking, and we had done some preparatory work. It wasn't just like all of a sudden we started like bouncing around, but like we had done some preparatory spiritual work, and we started shaking and like moving our bodies, and then it grew and grew and grew in intensity over time, and then we had a command set that on the command we all dropped. And
oh my gosh,
everybody strike your bingo card. As an energy witch in my body,
bingo.
it was really, on a spiritual level, it was a really powerful altered state of consciousness that I entered. Also, as a priestess, it was really cool to see another tool in that toolbox. And it reminded me of, like, I don't know it all. There are more ways. Like this level of curiosity and openness and learning. Yeah.
Well, when you were saying that, because I wasn't at that ritual, but remember the Shaker sect, Shaker sect, that was what they did, and so they reached ecstatic states of consciousness through that. And so, what I love to see is how we can absorb these other ways of doing this. We don't have to do everything the same way. Even though there's nothing wrong with that either, and we do that really well too, but seeing these new tools, that's amazing.
Can I talk about trancing out in mundane life? Like when people don't know?
Sure. Sure. I'd love to hear about this.
So one thing I really enjoy is like being incognito in mundane world times, and then doing my witchy thing, but people don't know it.
Yeah.
So I do it at clubs, like when I'm at my favorite dance club. Sometimes me, and if I'm with some other witches, we might have agreed ahead of time to do it. But the flashing lights of the dance club, the loud music, specifically the bass, the thud, the
sacred thud, thud.
Right, what I call the holy sacred thud, thud. Like in jest, but also seriously. Like, what is the base of music if it's not that drum beat that I hear in ritual? It's the same thing, And then Also, people are drinking, which is another way of altering their state of consciousness. I don't do that whenever I'm doing this sort of thing. But the music, the bass line, the lights, I can feel it in my body. I'm dancing. I'm moving my body.
The other people on the dance floor.
Exactly. Mm-hmm, and then you add in a couple hundred of my closest friends in that moment,
all sweating,
all dancing. And I can do some really great work, even if the people to my right are hooking up. The people to my left are wasted. The people across from me are having a bachelorette party. The person behind me is, just got stood up on a date. Whatever. Like, we're all there together, and like that combination.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that, but
can totally alter my state of consciousness, and I can do some really great work by myself, or even better if I do have like my sisters with me. And then that also applies to whenever I go to festivals.
Yeah,
it only gets more intense because the lights are better, and then I can curate the music choice more there by going to see certain people.
Yeah.
And over New Year's, I was at a festival, and I knew the group that I was going to see, and they are the type of music is called trance, which is on purpose. But like the music and I think it helped the type of people that were there to see them. We were all more on the same page. Not as much on the same page as like my sisters in circle, but far more than the people in the dance club.
Oh yeah. Willing to drop into the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was sobbing. My partner who was with me was sobbing. My friend who we had come with, he was standing next to me. He was sobbing. We were all just crying. It was wonderful.
It sounds like it would be.
It was really great.
Yeah.
So like our introduction says at the beginning, of different experiences and backgrounds. So this is one that you and I actually feel totally different about.
Yes.
Sensory deprivation as a method of altering state of consciousness.
So let me start by saying that I had heard about it, and it was not, on my radar. I wasn't thinking about it until another woman who you used to room with told me. I think she had done it, and she told me about it. And I was thinking, well, wow, let me give that a try. And then I think I got a Groupon or something like that. And, I was kind of approaching it like you would go for a massage, so it's like, okay, we'll see what it's like, et cetera, et cetera. And so to be honest, to be fair, your senses are not totally deprived, but you're in a huge water tank, and it closes over your head. So you're in like this bubble of and water's up to your, I guess it's up, well, because you're kind of laying. So you could actually go under if you want, but you can kind of hold you can float. It was fabulous. I could hear like vague sounds coming from like there were two rooms, and my room was closest to the lobby, to the reception area, and I could hear some vague sounds coming from there. And when I first got in, I was feeling a little claustrophobic, and I just took some deep breaths, and I think I started daydreaming, and you're having an allergic reaction to this?
I don't want to think that that's true, but it might be. Please continue.
Okay, so think of it this way. Have you ever, like, I want to open this up for you. Have you ever been on a lake, and, you're laying in the lake, and you're floating, and the sun is beating down on you? Okay, so it's kind of like that because it's warm. The only thing is that you don't hear, like, the birds chirping or whatever. All you hear is your heart beating and your breathing. And so here you go. It's like Zazen. It's like Buddhist sitting. So you're sitting there, and it's just totally, the face. I can't even describe the face I'm seeing.
I love that it was so powerful for you. I think it's great.
But what are your thoughts about it?
I think it sounds miserable.
So is it so tell me what are the miserable parts for you?
Well,
or
like on a mundane level, I am claustrophobic. Like I do really struggle with claustrophobic, and I've heard you can do it leaving the tank open. My partner has had real powerful spiritual experiences in there. I believe that it is real. I believe that it is effective. I also think that it's somewhat more reachable to like the non-witchy folk.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
I'm not altering my state of consciousness in like a weird hippie way. I'm sitting in a tank.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a hot tub or a bathtub. It's totally normal. Like, I think it can, like, for some people it can be more accessible. It just, like, everything about it sounds like not...
Like something you will not spend a couple of hours.
Yeah, and like, I have been sitting. I have gone sitting. It was not for me,
Because you're very energy moving.
I want to move my body. Even, and like, I think some people think that me being an energy witch means I have to be a high energy ecstasy. That is not true. Swaying and things like that. Being in water where I am rocking back and forth or slowly moving through the water and feeling.
You can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Then your head hits the I mean, not hard.
But, so anyways, I really want people to get that. Like, I think it's great, and I am all about it for other people. But I think, but I hope like our listeners, what they take from that is that there's not a right way or a wrong way.
Totally.
There's it's tools. There's a bunch of different ways. Find the way that fits your practice.
That's right. That sends you where you want to go. Oh yeah. Okay, so I won't give you a free thing for your birthday or something to...
I'll be passing it along to my partner lovingly.
That's good to know. Okay.
But could I wire one of those float tanks with, like, flashing LED lights, a speaker to, like, play some trance music, and then make it deep enough that I can, like, be swimming in circles, like diving upside down, around and around and around. If we can do that...
You're there.
Yeah. But I do think, though, sensory deprivation... I have experimented and used that some, but in a way that fits me. Like, I have, like, dancing blindfolded, for example. Like, that works for me. Or
in a room where you turn off the light. So sometimes when I'm feeling a little depressed, for me, the way I experience, the way I explore that is to not try to play happy music and cheer myself up. I got to keep going, I can like trampoline back up. So I will, like, I have actually a playlist of like really not depressing but like dark music. Your minor, a lot of minor stuff, and and so back in the day, I haven't done this lately, but I would turn off all the lights and kind of wrap myself up and just move, dance, or sway, or sometimes just lay on the floor and just let the sound, because music is my religion. Let the sound kind of wash over me and just like feel shitty, like just try to feel as shitty as I possibly can. And so in a way that kind of, I'm not depriving myself of all of my senses, but I'm depriving myself of some of my senses. And that allows me to really focus on the music because I'm not trying to do other things. So, you can choose different ways of, or not sensory deprivation, but you can allow some of the senses to drop away so you can focus on the ones that will help you to do what you need to do at that moment in time.
Another tool in your toolbox.
Another tool, exactly.
Before we close and read a poem, I'd like to just reflect on what we talked about with altered states of consciousness and maybe offer our listeners permission to see what fits for them, to be creative, to look at different techniques. And also the one thing that I would really suggest is look at the things that you are already drawn to.
Yes.
So for me, why is it that I love going to the club, but I don't want to drink and do these other things? Like, why is it that I'm there? Like, what is it that draws me to that? And then, or like, why is it that I was doing musical theater and looking for those moments? What, and through that introspection, I was able to figure out what I was intuitively being pulled towards, and then kind of work my way backwards. From there.
Reverse engineering.
Right. Witchy reverse engineering.
Yes. Yeah. I think this goes for so many of our episodes. We're sharing there's two of us here, and for anything that we discuss, I would imagine there has to be myriad experiences. And so, what I hope for these episodes is for our listeners to like take what we're listening to, what we're talking about, and of course loving us to death.
Absolutely.
But also,
and hopping over to Patreon.
Exactly. But taking that information and saying, well, what does that mean for me? And then what can I do with this, with some of their, how they're describing some of their experiences, and playing, and hopefully approaching this with a sense of playfulness, and trying on like the outfit and saying, okay, this is not my jam, and moving around our topics, moving around the things that we do, and seeing how much of that works for you, and if it does, yay, and if it doesn't, that there's some self-knowledge there, right?
Right, like sitting. I was like, yay, I tried it. Not going to do it. Like good evidence, like good to know.
Yes.
And now I'm moving forward informed.
As opposed to just like thinking, okay, that's not my jam. Well, no, now that's not your jam.
No.
Yes, and self-knowledge is half the battle.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here with us as we figure out this self-knowledge together.
So the poem, we have a relatively short poem that kind of speaks to this idea of being present and being where are you when you're experiencing these altered states of consciousness. And the poem is by Emily Bronte of the Bronte sisters, and I don't think she needs that much of an introduction, and if she does, Wikipedia. So it's called I'm Happiest When Most Away. I'm happiest when most away I can bear my soul from its home of clay. On a windy night when the moon is bright and the eye can wander through worlds of light.
When I am not and none beside, nor earth nor sea nor cloudless sky, but only spirit wandering wide through infinite immensity. Thank you for wandering through the infinite immensity of altered states of consciousness with us today. We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!